Hello and welcome to The Sand Dance, my adventures in North Africa with Rommel. This is Operation Brevity, 15th of May 1941. In the spring of that year, Rommel advanced across Libya and cut off the garrison of Tobruk. Fuel problems and overextended forces halted the Afrika Korps advance at the Libyan-Egyptian border. The British began a series of counterattacks to relieve Tobruk, the first of which was Brevity, a rather modest affair whose objective was the capture of Sollum near the Halfaya Pass and the high ground known as Hafid Ridge. Although initially successful, the British were ultimately forced back by German counterattacks. This is the introductory scenario for Rommel. There are 16 game turns. The Allies will get 6 ops dice to start with, and the Germans will get 3. Because I'm playing solo, I'll randomise the ops choice for the defender and draw some cards, and they can choose from 3. German reinforcements will arrive from the end of turn 8, and for victory the Allies must hold 2 objectives and their own at the end of the day. Anything else is an Axis victory. This is the table setup for the scenario. Sollum is on the right, Fort Capuzzo in the middle, and Hafid Ridge on the left. And this is how that translates to my tabletop. Hafid Ridge on the left, Fort Capuzzo in the middle, and Sollum on the right. The British and German supply points are illustrated here. The normal measurements for a grid playing Rommel are 6 inches. I'm using 8-inch squares, which are then subdivided into 4-inch squares as indicated by the dotted box here. These are the forces involved in Op Brevity. The British have 7th Armoured Brigade and 22nd Brigade, the latter of which is mostly full of motorised infantry, but they do have some Matilda in support, and they have a coastal group which is mainly infantry. They have 2 batteries of heavy guns in support. The Axis forces also have 3 groupings. Firstly, Kampfgruppe von Hoff, which is a mixture of Bersaglieri and Panzergrenadiers with a few tanks thrown in, a grouping of Italian troops, and then coming on as reinforcements, Kampfgruppe Erzgebet, with also Panzergrenadiers and Panzer IIIs, and they will be the counterattacking force. Now on to the British plan. The Italian troops will be based around Sollum, and Kampfgruppe von Hoff will be based along the top end of the table as we look. For the British, 7th Armoured Brigade on the left, 22nd Brigade in the middle, and the coastal grouping on the right hand side near to the core artillery. The main thrust for the British plan will be the advance of 22nd Brigade. Their priority will be Fort Capuzzo, and the secondary target will be Sollum. 7th Armoured Brigade will push over to the left flank and screen against the German advance. If possible, they will also seize Hafid Ridge. The coastal grouping will remain in place to protect the lines of communication and the British right flank. Here's Kampfgruppe von Hoff set up on their start line. They've got Fort Capuzzo directly ahead, and to their right the Hafid Ridge, which they've got to try and defend. Over on the far horizon, 7th Armoured Brigade on the right as we look, 22nd Brigade in the centre, and over in the far corner is the coastal grouping. And here's Sollum with the Italians dug in. Well, not literally, they haven't got any defensive positions as such, but they're in the urban centre and they're in the hills to the west. The British will be starting. It's turn 1. Let's roll some ops dice. And they get all 6. They can't have that because they've got 6 already, but they have a full ops file of 10 now. Straight into the events phase, and I'm going to do off-road. So it's a road movement for everybody for 1 ops dice, and we can go in the tactical phase again. So road movements phase, and it's a general advance by 22nd Brigade and 7th Armoured Brigade. Here's the right hand grouping of 22nd Brigade. They've got Sollum to their right. The left hand grouping of 22nd Brigade just short of Fort Capuzzo. They'll move into that next. And 7th Armoured on their left flank. Tactical phase, these Matildas and infantry will move forward. We can go 2. They'll remain there at the moment, I think. These chaps will be occupying Fort Capuzzo, and they'll move up on their left flank. And the 7th Armoured Brigade will also move up. So at the end of that first turn, the British have secured Fort Capuzzo. Nobody was there. That 7th Brigade, they've nearly got Hafid Ridge. And they're loitering with intent outside of Sollum. German ops phase. They also get 6. So that makes a total of 9 because they started with 3. So for the events phase, they'll do an off-road move, similar to the British. Unfortunately, the zone of control is here, so they can't go too far forward. German tactical phase. These chaps can just go the 1. These Panzer IIs will go and attack these. And this battle group here will go and attack the infantry over here. And this battle group will just come up here. So into the first battle, we've got the Panzer IIs against the cruiser tanks and an infantry unit. The British will be calling on their core artillery for support. The Germans don't have any. However, they will be playing recce and calling in an airstrike. The British will play attack broken up, which means that one of the Panzer II units doesn't make it. So the total strength for the battle is 5 for the Germans and 8 for the British. The Germans will be hitting first and they get a 1 shift up for the air power. However, before we start, we do have a bit of tank action. So the relative strength of the cruisers is 2 for the armour rating, and for the Panzer IIs it's 1. So it's an advantage to the British here. That's 2 hits, shifted up to 3. There's only 2 units there, so the infantry will take 2 hits. They all fight back, but they've had 3 hits on them, so their strength is only 5. And that is nothing in return, so there's no armour hits either. And the Germans withdraw and are tipped. On to the second fight just outside Fort Capuzzo. No tactics for the Germans, no artillery, they are strength 15. British will play concealed positions, so that's 1 shift up for the defender. And the British are on strength 12. Germans get 3 hits, that's 1 on each infantry unit. And the British get 2 hits, but concealed positions, shift up is 3 hits back on the Germans. Back they go. Turn 3 and British ops dice, they get 4. So they've now got 8 in the file. Now, events. I think I'll be playing Dig In. That's another 2 ops for that. And that means I've got 6 prepared positions to place. The British are now dug in to Fort Capuzzo and will make it extremely difficult for the Germans to push them out. And just to be super safe, the coastal grouping has also dug in. British 7th Armoured are on the attack. We'll start on the British left flank. These cruisers will be attacking these bersaglieri. Core artillery will engage, and I'll try and remember it this time. The British strength is 11 and the Germans are 12, but they will get tank shock and get a shift down. That's 3 hits for the British and the Germans, 1 on each of the bersaglieri units. And I'm afraid the Italians get nothing in return. However, the cruisers have to withdraw. Next engagement, we've got the cruiser tanks with infantry support fighting against these Panzer IIs, and they're tipped. No artillery support for either side. The British will play smoke, but the Germans have fast reaction, so one of these Panzer III groups will come over and join the fight. Well, 7th Armoured might have got a bit excited here. They're outgunned by the Germans, especially with those Panzer IIIs joining the fight. The Germans will have 11 strength and the British only 5. And of course there's a tank duel going on, and the Panzer IIIs are certainly better than the cruisers. Well, that's 2 hits by the British and 2 hits by the Germans, but also an extra hit on the tanks. Which I'm afraid means that they are gone. Disaster. Panzers running amok. And this might be a silly tactic as well. We've got the light Vickers tanks up against the Panzers and infantry. The British have called in for air support. And no tactics for the Germans. Both sides have a strength of 12. The Germans will have the armour advantage. Shift up for the British. 3 hits on the Germans. 1 hit coming back, but obviously there's an extra armour hit as well, so I was lucky. The Germans certainly got the better of those engagements, and the British are withdrawn, licking their wounds. Turn 4 for the Germans. And they get another 6 ops dice. So that means the Germans have got 8 ops dice. Don't think I'm going to play any events this turn, and it's straight on to road movement, of which I don't think I'll do any of that, and therefore tactical phase. Stand by 7th Armoured. They will attack here. They will attack here, supported by these. And these will also attack here. We'll start on the German right. Germans will be playing Armoured Assault, which means they get a shift up. And the British are limited by choice, so they'll play their finest hour, which means that one of their units can double their strength, which is just as well because they're all tipped and halved anyway. So that's a massive 22 and a shift up for the Germans, along with the tank advantage because of the Panzer IIIs over the cruisers. The British are on 6. 6 hits and an extra tank damage for the Germans on the British. That is catastrophic. They have been shattered and gone. 2 hits coming back on the Germans, but they'll suck that up. I think that means they occupy that square. So let's move over to the other combat now. These British light Vickers tanks are massively outgunned and outnumbered, so they will play withdraw. And they will go back here. I'm thinking allowing the Germans to occupy that square. And that is a crushing defeat for the 7th Armoured Brigade there. They've absolutely been mullered. Hafid Ridge for the Germans is secure, and that is the remnants of the Armoured Brigade. And look out, 22nd Brigade, you're in a lot of bother now. And I'll tell you for why the Germans are going to go for another tactical phase. This grouping here is going to move and attack the Vickers. That's 2 squares. They will attack here, and they will attack there. Do the assault on the Vickers light tanks first. No tactics for either side, straight fight. British are tipped, they're on 6 strength and the Germans on 11. And the armour battle will have the advantage for the Germans with the Panzer IIIs. So that's 2 hits for the Germans with an initial hit on the lead tank element. Total of 3, and 0 effect from the Vickers light tanks. However, the Germans still have to withdraw. And over to the assault on the defended positions here. Germans will call in for an airstrike and they get the Stukas into action. The British have limited options, and I think because they got the defences there, they will not play any tactics here. So there's no tank battle, but the British will be tank shock and shifted down. Germans have a strength of 19, the British 9. Massive stonk by the Germans there. That's 6 hits. However, one of them is absorbed by one of the defensive positions, so that's gone. And another 5, which means these 2 are gone, shattered. Just the 1 hit coming back. But that is enough to shatter one of those Panzer Grenadier units. So the Germans will have to withdraw over here, and they're tipped. And finally, that's the end of the German turn. The British are in a massive pickle here. They've only got 1 ops dice left, so it's 6 dice here. They get another 5. And I think, looking at the ops file, I'll skip the events and go straight into road movement. I think they'll have to do a road move with this Matilda battle group and move it over to Fort Capuzzo. And the tactical phase here, they will assault the German panzers. The Vickers tanks, what's left of them, will join in. Over near Fort Capuzzo, I think I'll just shift one of these across there to give them extra support. That is the end of movement. We're into the battle. This could be trouble for the panzers. The corps artillery will join in the attack for the British, so they will have a strength of 24. They're also playing reserve artillery, so that's a shift up. The Germans have no tactical plays. They have a strength of 11, but they certainly have the lead in the armour battle. And that's 6 hits for the British, which has absolutely shattered those panzers. Coming back is 2 hits and an extra one for the armour battle, so 3 in total. And the British take that ground. What a fantastic counterattack. Well done, the Matildas. Turn 6, it's the German turn. They will do a reset on their command board and only roll 3 dice and get 2. So I've now got 4 ops dice available in their file. I don't think I want to do any events, as no road movement required, therefore we're straight into a tactical phase with 1 ops dice. So this battle group will engage the Matildas. These will engage the dug-in troops here again, and these will support. So we'll start over here on the German right, and of course the Matildas' defence is very good, so they'll have the upper hand in the tank battle. No artillery involved. 2 ops dice for the Germans. Armoured assault, and the Stukas are in again. They're busy boys today. No defensive tactics for the British. It's a strength of 9 for both sides. 3 hits for the Germans, 2 shifts up, 5 hits. And that has shattered those infantry and that Matilda grouping. 2 hits coming back with an armour strike on the Germans, which has actually finished them off. Wow, look at that. Matildas have held the ground. And over to the other assault on the defended position. Germans have 17, 1 shift up because of the airstrike. The British are on 6 but have that defensive position. They will also have a downshift because of tank shock though. 3 hits for the Germans, upshifted to 4. And that is enough to shatter the rest of those British troops. And I'm afraid those defences didn't alter that fact either. And they do not do anything to the Germans in reply. Ground is taken. And that's the end of turn. Well, this engagement west of Fort Capuzzo has certainly taken its toll on both sides. The German Kampfgruppe is pretty much hanging out. It's only got 2 battalions left. And look at the British as well. I mean, defences are still there around the fort itself, but the rest of it are looking a bit ropey. Funny old thing though, those little tanks, I know they've got the German markers on the back, but they are the Vickers light tanks, are hanging in there. And still got the Matildas further over to the west. But the German reinforcements are on their way. Turn 7, and it's a reset for the British, so just 3 dice. And they get 3 more ops. 6 ops dice. I think I'll do 1 event, which is going to be surprise attack. So that means that the enemy can't play any tactics during the first tactical phase in 1 square. No road movements, so straight into the tactical phase for another ops dice. And my thoughts are that the light tanks here will engage the Bersaglieri, with the Matildas coming in on the flank. The British will call for the core artillery and will play 1 ops dice for massed target, and therefore the guns will be doubled in strength. So the British are on 17, Bersaglieri are on 9. And not forgetting tank shock, so the Bersaglieri will have 1 shift down. So 2 hits on the Bersaglieri, poor effort by the British, but they're not far off being shattered. 3 hits coming back on the British, but that's downshifted to 2. And the British have to move away. It is turn 8, and Kampfgruppe von Essebeck is going to arrive in the final phase of this turn. 4 extra ops dice for the Germans. Well, they haven't got any airstrikes left, which is what they have been using to good effect so far. Now, I don't think I'm going to do any events, and no road movements, so we're in tactical phase for 1 ops dice. I don't think this battle group is going to attack Fort Capuzzo because they're going to be vulnerable and they get a shift down, so that's not going to be much cop there. Those light tanks are looking a bit dodgy though. They are tipped, so they will attack. 9 for the Germans, and they will get an advantage of armour, and 7 for the British. The Germans will bang some smoke in, so 1 shift down for the British. 3 hits and an armour strike for the Germans, which finishes those light tanks off. They did a good job, but they've gone. and coming back is 1 hit but shifted down to 0 effect for the light tanks. So then they're gone and the Germans will take that square. At the end of turn 8 then, it's the arrival of Kampfgruppe von Essebeck. They are ready to move forward in their next turn, and to be honest, I think I'm going to call it there. Effectively, 7th Armoured Brigade have been shattered, destroyed, killed. In fact, there's nobody left. They have one element of tanks here, or one unit, which is a squadron of Matildas, which belongs to 22nd Brigade. They are holding on to Fort Capuzzo in the middle, but that's only going to go one way. And they have an isolated battalion over here in front of the British objective down there. There's no way the British are going to win. The Italians are still holding on to Sollum, and I'm going to call it there, like I say, and that is a German victory. Their counterattack has done well. The British have failed, and that is a brief Operation Brevity.